Hello, it's Chaplin 73, and I'm joined today by an artist you may recognise, as I have interviewed him before, Mason Storm. Hello, Mason. How you doing?
Hello, how are we doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Like I say, I interviewed you before, probably about must have been 2021, I think. So a couple of years ago now. So just wanted to catch up really and see what you've been up to.
Bugger all. No,
Fair enough. End of the interview. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks very much.
I know that's a lie. I know that's a lie. You're a very busy man.
I have been, I'd say in the last year, I've been really, really madly busy. What did I do last in 21? I had the show in Rome. That was really fun. I enjoyed that. That was great. A little
Solo show?
Yes, yeah, a little small gallery called Exclusive Urban Art. It's
right.
in the Jewish Quarter. And yeah, it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. The people were lovely. The gallery was really nice. Sold, I think, about 90% of the work, which was great. So yeah, it was real good fun. And I spent the rest of the time shopping, basically shopping and eating and drinking too much, as per.
Yeah, as you do. When in Rome.
Exactly that. Exactly that. Yeah, it was good. Too much ice cream, the usual. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Fabulous.
What else did we do? Spent a lot of last year just traveling around. I've got to stop saying I must remember that. We were all over the shop last year. I can't even begin off the top of my head to remember where we went to, but had some fun. We went to Denmark as well, and I went to see an artist there, Christian van Hornsleff. If you don't know him, look him up. He's nuts in a good way. So we met him and some bits and bobs. Yeah, so it's just been after all of the print runs that we've done. I just needed a break from all of that sort of thing in order to just take stock again and then just get my head straight and then cracking on with the next lot. So it's all been good fun. So I'm doing some work at the moment for the Austrian Art Fair, which is in April. So I'm going there every gallery. That lot again. Once again, I had some shoulder surgery, so painting was really, really difficult for quite a long while. So if I did an hour's painting, I'd be in pieces for the rest of the day. So that was difficult. So I sort of started that around Christmas. I had quite a few bits to get done, but it was quite telling it that I couldn't really get to it. So I've been for the last 2 months now. It's sort of better, but it's tons better now. But for the last 2 months, I've been cracking on with the 10 pieces I need to finish off for the art show. So yeah, I should have those done by the end of the week, hopefully. But that's been fun. They're more, what are they? They're kind of like, I don't want to say it. They're Banksy-esque, but they're sort of an improvement on the rough stencil things. So that's been cool. And I'm sure I'll get a lot of grief for those, but I like doing them, and the gallery likes them.
I think I've seen some of them online. I think you've got like the flower thrower.
The girl hugger farm.
Yeah.
We've got exclusive to you. We've got the one with the punk rocker and his mum sorting out his or the writer or whatever he is sorting out his mask. We've got a couple of generic ones. I've probably got 2 bomb huggers. I'm not sure I'm putting them both in. I might do. We've got that. And what else are they taking? They're taking the Salvatore Mundi, the Leonardo I did a copy of, the restored version. They're having that as well. So yeah, so there's loads going on. So I've got all that to come out. Then we did the big thing at Christmas, the 12 by 12 painting. So 12 paintings by the 12th of December.
Yep.
Again, nearly had me in the grave trying to get those done with the shoulder, but yeah, I got there in the end. Basically,
there was a show that caused a bit of controversy. What was that? It was a group show, wasn't it? Some of your paintings.
Yes, Tracy's show.
Yeah.
A long story. I was a bit of a naughty one. I wanted to do a solo show, so I'd done a bunch of religious paintings, and I had 4 that I really wanted to show that were in these big, like, Gothic frames. They're beautiful frames, antique church frames. So I'd done the paintings to go in those. So I approached the gallery or the church, the gallery, and said, I'd like to show these paintings. The lady said, all right, can we have a look at them? So I sent them. And she came back at one. She went, there's a guy here, being he's tied to a post and he's being whipped. What's that all about? I thought, you run the art space in a church and you've not noticed it's Jesus. So I explained it to her, and she said, well, what's the point of what's going on with all the tattoos and stuff? I said, well, it's quite disrespectful. I said, the point about it is it's just trying to show the nature of Jesus then as he would be described now. So, you know, he was a bit of a maverick and a rebel and what have you and all that kind of stuff. So I said, so it's not about just being disrespectful. It's about my take on what, if he did exist, if he does exist, if he ever came back, what Jesus would be like now, and his politics and that kind of thing. So she said that I definitely couldn't do it. She wouldn't let me do it. So I said, okay, fine, fair enough. And then Tracy asked me if I had any pieces for her show. Tracy, what? So I thought, I have got a few pieces. So I sort of neglected to tell Tracy that they shouldn't be going in because the ladies already rejected them. So they went in, and I think the lady came down. They had the opening night, and I think the lady came down later on in the week and spotted them, but she wasn't overly impressed.
Yeah,
so
they were swiftly taken out, I believe.
Tracy turned them round. So
Yeah.
but people coming down and then having to quickly sneak into the alcoves, turn them around, have a quick look, and then turn them back again. So that was quite good fun. But it's spooky, but I got them shown in the end. So, and no harm done as far as I know. No one was corrupted, and no one burning in hell for it. I might do, quite possibly, but yeah, no one else did. So.
Well, there was an artist years ago, wasn't there, who caused a lot of controversy because he did an exhibition and he didn't put any paintings in it. He just put blank walls.
Perfect.
So, you know.
It's like the other one of my favorite artists, Mauricio Catalan. He's a lunatic, and he had a show on, and he had literally nothing to show. I mean, he was meant to be showing, had nothing. So he went about 10 doors along to another gallery, broke in, robbed all the art from the gallery, took it to the way he was showing, put it all up, and displayed it as his own. But you know, again, but he got away with it, and that's the kind of thing he does. So
yeah. What's an art exhibition without a bit of controversy?
What's an art exhibition without any art?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, I found it a little bit short-sighted, to be honest. The lady was saying that, you know, people might come down and be offended, and you know, you can put something on the door to say there are images there that you might not find. Isn't that what art's all about anyway?
Yeah,
that makes
absolutely
question, and you know,
yeah. I mean, that's why the genitals were taken off many statues many years ago, wasn't it?
Hacking knobs off all over the place in ancient Rome.
Exactly. You know, somebody's bound to get offended by something.
Well, if you're not, people say something, you know, if you're not offending someone, you're not really doing it right. You know, to be honest, it doesn't matter what you do, someone's going to be offended by it, even if it's, you know, I don't know, if it's a cat on a wall. Someone's going to have the hump saying there's something wrong with the cat. It shouldn't be up on that wall. It'll end up getting hurt. That kind of nonsense. So,
why haven't you drawn a dog? Yeah.
I don't really subscribe to anyone else's viewpoint on things. You know, I don't do things just for the sake of being controversial. You know, that's easy done. I think there has to be some sort of a narrative behind it that you're trying to push, if you can. Whether people get that, it was like with the statue I did a figure many years ago of it was called Little Terror, and it was basically a mannequin of a child, but it was a girl, so she had a mask on like this, pigtails coming out, but she was covered in bombs, and she had a suicide belt on and all that kind of stuff. And the local people who in the area where it was being displayed went absolutely nuts. They went crazy, saying, you know, their kids see it on the way to school, and it was very insensitive. And it was because it was down the road from Finsbury Park Mosque, where Abu Hamza was there at the time. And it was a very fraught time, obviously, because of the bombings and stuff. But I'd put it there because I'd made a piece, and I'd watched a documentary about child soldiers and kids used in war, that kind of thing. You know, kids used to deliver bombs, all that kind of nonsense. I thought it was just a way of showing, you know, you've got this cutesy, what you can tell is a cutesy little kid, but obviously she's, you know, been turned into a human bomb. So they had meetings and all sorts, and we had there was a local meeting in one of the church halls, and everyone went down there to have a moan up. And I said to them, I get what you're saying, but if you're this offended by the sculpture, fine, I get it. There's 100 of you here minimum. If you all put a tenner in, £1,000, buy it off me, I'll destroy it, and then we'll give that money to the War Child charity.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it wasn't that important to them. Nobody wanted to put the tenner in.
Strange,
So,
that, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Everyone's got the hump until it, when someone asks, "Yeah, so what about some positive action then to counteract what I'm doing?" Didn't want to know. So from that, I kind of really
I think it's important that art is made and it creates that narrative, and gets people talking about things, and that is part of what art is all about, isn't it? It's to get people talking about things that they probably wouldn't be talking about.
I think, and that kind of thing, it puts it front and center into people, their psyche. Otherwise, no one might not have known about me. And maybe these people live a cosseted life and don't know anything about child soldiers. I don't know, but for me, it's just something I wanted to comment on, and I think that's what most artists like to do. I mean, obviously, I straightforward portraits, and they don't really comment on anything. Some of the work I do is just something that sometimes you get it in your head, and you've got to get it out. You've got to make it flesh in order to get it out of your head and move on. So there's quite a lot of that. I've been asked to do a piece for Art Miami in December, and the only brief I've got, which is, can we make something controversial? And I think that's controversial because that way everyone goes to that gallery's booth and everyone's there and it gets in the press, etc., etc. But I can't just do a controversial piece that's just controversial. I could just do something outrageous and it would get headlines, but that's of no consequence to me. It does nothing for me. So that's what I think on. I've got whether I accept that I do it or not is another thing, because just someone dragging you along to say, can you do something controversial? Well, fine, but that might make me the fall guy. Their gallery will survive, but if it's too much of a fallout, that lands on me, and that follows me around forever. So
there's always a risk, isn't there?
Well thought out, that one, I think.
So obviously, you're very well known for your photorealistic stuff, but you also do sculpture, don't you?
I do. The sculpture, for me, it's more of a return to what I used to do. So many moons ago, I used to have a sculpting company, traditional sculpting company, and we did sculptures for what were then called, as far as they still are called, garage kits, which were basically model kits that weren't made by the big manufacturers like Airfix. So we used to do a lot of figurative stuff, movie monsters and characters and that kind of thing. So going back to doing the sculptures now, for me, it's just now I can say it's work. I can get away with it now and say it's work. So when I'm sitting around playing with toys, it's work. So I can offset it against the tax, which is even better. So it's fantastic. But no, I really enjoy doing the sculpture. I used to do lots of little bits and bobs like that, mainly figurative stuff, which was good fun. But so some of it's going. I mean, some of it might go to Miami. Some of it might even go to Austria if I get them done in time. But I'm doing series with the Pope, the current Pope. So I've got a really lovely bust of him. I'm just getting that all molded up and stuff at the moment. So once that's done, I'll be doing some bits and pieces with that. That should be fun. See if I can get that into another church or not.
And what are your feelings on AI? I've got to ask you, because being a photorealistic painter, obviously AI's come along.
I love it. I mean, I get both sides of the argument. So it's a difficult one, but I think if you're just going on putting in a prompt and saying, I don't know, whatever, like a spaceman, for example, and then you print that off, sign it, and send it to someone, to me it's cheating a little bit. It's not what you'd call art, because again, anyone can do that, so it loses its creativity to a degree. But I think if someone that's not artistically trained and wants to produce something and goes on and does AI, well, it just means there's another thing in the world that exists now that didn't before. But I think if you're trying to sell your AI generated images purely as they are, I think you're shortchanging the customer if you're doing that. It's fun. I mean, I've been using it quite a lot lately. So the latest lot of pictures I've been doing, the Banksy-esque ones, which updates, like I say, on the rough stencil stuff, I can have an idea, and if I sit down and draw it, it might not be right, and I'll have to draw it again. It can take me, 10, 15 hours to get the piece. This way, I can just type it in, up it comes, gives me a rough idea. I can then use that composition, or I can use that character, or take a bit of that character, put them all into one composition, and off I go and paint it. So whether or not my using AI and then painting a physical image from it thereafter, does that count as good art or art? I don't know. It works for me. But yeah, like I say, I think just uploading an image that you've AI'd and signed it and framed it, I don't think that really counts. But again, if someone wants it, if someone can buy something that they've never seen before because someone's generated it with AI, well, technically a camera's AI, isn't it? That didn't exist.
Yeah.
Picture, you take a picture, that is what it is, and people sell photographs and have done for a century or two. So I don't see the problem with it as long as you're honest about what you're doing with it. I think it's absolutely, I've got no real problem. I know a lot of artists have got a problem with the fact that, we've all popped up on the AI who's been used as a prompt in the style of whoever. And a lot of artists, they've spent their careers and many, many years becoming artists and developing a style. And to have that style effectively ripped off, or, it's a difficult one. I like a friend of mine, a really great draftsman, Carl Griffiths. He's had some, when it says in the style of, it's nigh on identical. So that's not great in as much as it's going to, it's means he may lose out because someone's been able to generate something in his style. So I don't know whether that's going to be the death knell for artists, because it is what it is. People will want to collect the artist as opposed to something that looks like it's by the artist. If someone's got a chance to buy a Caravaggio, they'll want it because it's a Caravaggio, not because it looks like a Caravaggio. If that was the case, I'd be a multi-millionaire now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always been art fakes. There's always been art forgeries, and paintings that people have thought were originals turn out not to be original, and then they're not worth as much. So I think you're right. I think AI offers a tool for artists to use and for non-artists to use to enable them to do things that they wouldn't be able to do. But I think the point you made about it being clear that it's AI and that it's been generated by AI, we just need to be, a bit careful around, don't we?
I think again, it's one of those, a lot of times, for example, I use them quite a lot. I do what I consider a funny post on a Monday morning. I might see something that pops up in the news and I want to illustrate that as a joke on one of my Instagram or Facebook or wherever. And I can go to AI and quickly I can do that, and I've got an illustration. It grabs people. It's not taking me hours to do it, and it's in the world. People then, I've had several where people have gone, "Oh, that's a great thing. It's amazing," and I have to say, no, it's an AI. It's not what I painted. It's an AI image.
Yeah,
and I think you just need to be, as long as you're upfront about it, I think it's fine. But I understand when it crosses over into the realms of designers, for example, who have to sit down and design, logo designers or draftsmen or anything like that. When outspoken AI starts to become so intelligent that those people aren't required anymore, I think then it might be a problem. But as it exists in the art world, I think it's fine. You'll find a lot of artists now, from hobbyists up to some of the big names that are currently around, the contemporary artists. I'm sure you'll find that they'll all be using AI to some degree.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, as long as it's used as a tool, it's gonna help people, isn't it? Really, that's what it's there for.
I often, sometimes I'll use a projector. So if I've got a picture I want to get just right, for example, this one behind me, this is from a photograph that a photographer had done. He'd done a whole big fashion thing, and it was Caravaggio, but reimagining, in today's world. So the photograph. Now, to paint from a photograph, as it is difficult enough. You need something quite big. But I projected that, drew it out, then painted it. And that's because I'm not going to be able to do his well, how I work, or other artists that probably don't do it that way, but how I work is I wouldn't have been able to do it justice if I'd not got every single arm the length it should be in his photograph, and every
Yeah.
finger would have been. So if I draw it out, it's fine. I've had people that have said, drawing it out using a projector is cheating. Well, it's not. It just means I'm getting to that point quicker. I'm getting a faithful reproduction, and because I do a lot of work from photographs and reproductions, I have to get it just right. Some of the great old masters got the perspectives wrong, and as an artist, your automatic thought is I've got to readjust that, but you can't, because you're doing something that's wrong, but you're copying it. So that's why you often use the projector, and I've had people say that all the time.
But some of the great masters use tools that were available to them as projectors, and to transfer images, etc.
Well, yeah, it's a that argument has been raging in the art world for many years. But like I say to people, when they say to me, "Oh, you're cheating, you're not doing it right," anyone could do that. Well, if you feel that that's absolutely a point, I'll draw one out for you, put it on a canvas, give it to you, and you put the paint on. And if it comes back like that with the paint on it, fantastic. But 99 times out of 100, it won't. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that if you drew something out for me and gave me some oil paints, I could come up with anything like what you've got behind you. So
even if you gave that to someone as that was, for example, and said, okay, there's even got the colours on it, paint over it, keep it the same, it's nigh on impossible unless you know what you're doing. So yeah, but people always find something to moan about. I know I always do. So
yeah, I mean, people will find something to be upset about in the art world. I'm sure, whether it's the tools you use in the way you're doing something, or using AI or whatever. So what have you got going on at the moment?
So like I said, I've got 3 or 4 more paintings to finish off. They need to be out, packed up, and ready to. I mean, trying to get them dry is a nightmare, but they need to be done for April. So another week and a half I've got to really get them all finished and packed up, and they'll be shipped off to Austria. So the art fair is in Vienna, and I think it's at the end of April. I'm not sure yet. So I'll be going over for that. That should be fun. I've got so many bits and pieces in the pipeline that I can't really talk about because they're work related, and sometimes they'll bang against each other. And if I say one thing, someone else is going to get upset. But so there's that. You got the stuff going on in Miami in December. I was over in LA last year.
Yep.
And met some really cool people who want to do something with me in LA. So that'd be really good. That'd be fun. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's like everything in this game. It's always feast or famine. You'll be sitting around twiddling your thumbs for a week, and then suddenly someone will say, 10 people who want pictures done. So you've got to get all that done. So, and in the meantime, I've got commission work coming in, which is, again, on top of everything else. It takes a fair chunk of your time up. So I've been actually putting in some proper hours in the studio. It's killing me. I've only just got over the chest infection, which was a nightmare. That was because I'm such a delicate flower. My feet got really cold in the studio because I've got these like big, it's got a thing called space heaters. It's a big, but it's really, really powerful and really warm, but it's got a really strong orange light. So when you're painting it, you just can't tell what colors you're going on. You can't tell if you're getting it right because this thing's so orange. So I had to paint with that off, and yeah, literally I just caught a chill, and that was it. I'm lucky to be here. I don't want to overstate it, but I'm lucky to be alive.
I know. I was going to interview you last week, but it was touch and go, I was told. So
yeah, I had a bit of a chill.
Talking about the studio, you've moved studio, haven't you? You've got a bigger space now.
Yeah, I've got the. Did I have the big one I was speaking to you before?
I can't remember whether you just about to move in or you just moved in.
Oh, I think I had just moved in because I remember. I think I had the camera was on a ladder that I had in the studio. So yeah, I've been in there. It's got to be kind of 3 years now.
How's it going?
Yeah, I love it. It's a great. It's a shared space, so it's a great big massive old factory, and they've all been divided up into units. I think mine's the big. Apart from there's a Potter's in there, a pottery place, and they've got a massive unit. But I think mine's the next biggest unit, and then there's loads of tiny ones. And some people are full-time artists that are in there. Some people just come in the evenings instead of going to the pub. They come there. There's one guy I've never met, but I hear him every single evening. He's a stone sculptor. That all I can hear, tick, tick, bang, 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 as he's tapping away all night long. There's a couple of tattoo artists in there now. There's printmaker. Yeah, it's a really good community. It's a great place to be, but freezing cold in the winter. It's because it used to be a big old factory. There are no roofs on our studios.
Yeah.
So they got like a tin roof at the top. So in the summer, it absolutely bakes, and in the winter, it's absolutely freezing. But you know, I kind of like it like that. There's some really nice studios I was looking at, and they were a bit too clean and a bit too, I don't know, a bit too clinical for me. So yeah, I like it. And it's literally a 5-minute walk from where I live, so it's perfect.
Oh, ideal. I mean, it's nice to have a place with a bit of character, even if it is a bit cold in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, I've got so much. Thing is, though, the place I had before was, I mean, literally absolute. I mean, it was tiny. I had about this much space to move around inside it. So I moved everything to the new place, and it was fantastic. But the bigger the space, the more crap you put in it. Yeah, I'm buying stuff, and I'm looking at the moment. It's getting in my way at the moment. I've got 2 coffins, a weird-looking skeleton, looks like a proper skeleton. What have I got? I've got 2 4-foot crucifixes, a great big thing that looks like a piece of rock. No idea what I've got them for. No idea what I'm going to do with them.
Oh dear.
He said to me, I went, look, I've got this for free. What is it? It's a coffin. Oh, okay, great. What are you going to do with that? Not a clue. 2 weeks later, guess what I've got? Got another coffin. So, yeah,
I'm the same. I've got a shed in my garden. I've not long moved house, so I've got a shed here, and yeah, I bought a typewriter because I liked the way it looked, and now I've got 4 typewriters somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I think it's just been breeding in the corner. I haven't been out and got another 3 typewriters, I'm sure.
All that clicking and clanking is in the night.
So yeah, we do this, don't we? We collect strange things.
I have just got so much junk in the studio. It's ridiculous. And when I first went in there, like I say, it was not. All the walls are lovely and white, and all the paintings were up, and there was room for everything, and prints on the rack. And now it's just everywhere. So every now and then I have to do, like every 3 to 4 months, I have to do a deep dive, clean stuff, chuck stuff out, do all sorts, and it gets back to a place with a sort of semblance of being organised. And then, you know, like this last lot of work, I've had to actually take that work now out and do it at a friend's who lives just up the road from me. He's got like a front room that he's converted into his studio, and I have to do it there now just so as I can get these paintings dry, because they're just not drying in the studio. Yeah. And like I said, because I'm so delicate, I'll end up with pneumonia.
We don't want that to happen. You're a national treasure.
Oh, but my prices will go up. Everyone will be delighted. I'm sure a few people at the forum will be clapping as well.
People are rubbing their hands when they're listening to this, man.
Well, is he? No, he's not got long, bless. Straight onto eBay. You're quite right too.
And what have you got coming up? Can you talk about anything you've got coming up?
So, like I said, I've only got the 2 this year so far. I've only got the Austrian Art Fair and the thing in December, which is in Miami. There is something in the pipeline which I can't really mention at the moment because it's a business thing that we're negotiating at the moment. Okay. I'm like that with whether I take it and run with it or not. Yeah, that's a discussion for another day when I've had that. So we've got that to go. I think I'm not sure what month. I'm off to the Venice Biennale again, which is fabulous. We're going to see that should be quite cool. And then New York in, oh my God, so I've been invited to go and speak with a gallery in September in New York, which will be really cool. So they only contacted me yesterday. So that could be quite cool. If that comes up, I'll be delighted. I've got a couple of invites. I've got to go and see a biker gang in New York. That's another story entirely. All sorts going on. Yeah, so there's bits and bobs going on, but it's just corralling it all together and fingers crossed it comes off. Some things I'm not overly impressed with, so It's a bit. I think it's going to be one of those. I sound like I'm a horoscopist. It's going to be a year of change. I think. Some big. What else? That? Oh, I forgot.
Are the planets aligning? Are they?
Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say Jupiter's in. No, I'm going to say that one
No,
anyway.
don't say that.
So yeah, there's that. What else happened? We've got the big that picture that I did with some monkeys in it. I don't know if anyone knows what that one is. That's on show at Red. Was on show at Red 8, and actually it's still in the. Is it still there? I think it is. It's still up in Red 8's gallery up in the city. So that's there for a while in the Royal Exchange. So they've moved it from the studio, I think, or actually the actual gallery space into the actual Royal Exchange. I think it overlooks the champagne bar at the moment. So that'll be coming back down soon. That may be going abroad. Can't say too much more about that one. But yeah, so stuff, everything's like it's like anything. It's always like a tornado. There's bits and pieces on the ground, and there's tons of it swirling around, and it'll all land somewhere at some point. It'll all be good. Can't moan. Either way, whatever happens, it's all.
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, being busy is a good thing, isn't it?
It is. It's one of those weird ones. Obviously, if you're a commercial artist, then you have to be busy. Otherwise, you don't eat. But you know what? It does sometimes. I'm gonna sound so ungrateful because I'm very, very lucky to be doing what I do. But sometimes it does feel like a job. You know, when you've got a deadline on and you're not painting for you, you're painting for someone else, and they want their piece, or the gallery wants their 10 pieces for a show or whatever, and you've got to get your head down. So when I've got no galleries that are after specific stuff, I can just stroll in, do an hour, go down to the gym, come back, do another hour. But lately, I've been doing like in the studio at 6:30 in the morning, or my mates, I should say, for the last couple of weeks, 6:30 in the morning. He's delighted to see me that early in the morning, in there really early.
I bet he is.
And then, sometimes not getting done till 11 o'clock at night, which is a nightmare. But, it is what it is. You've got to do what you've got to do. And like I say, I'm not coal mining, I'm not really exerting myself, so I can't moan too much. But yeah, sometimes.
You've done other jobs before you became an artist, haven't you?
I have done many, many jobs, quite a few.
So which do you prefer, being an artist or 9 till 5?
Again, the jobs I did before weren't 9 to 5. And some of them were very exciting. Some of them were like nerve-wracking and scary and all of that. But I think, do you know what? I hate to say it, but as you get a little bit older in life, you just want it to be a little bit quieter and a little bit easier. A lot of the other jobs I did were super stressful. So this just means, it is what it is. I have to take stock when I wake up in the morning and go, oh God, I've got to go and do this. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, and then think, well, you could be doing what you were doing 10 years ago, and you don't want to be doing that. So you have to. It's really hard. People, you say you count your blessings, but if you wake up in the morning and you're tired and you're miserable, you still have to think, do you know what? As bad as it might feel at 6 in the morning getting up, it's not as bad as it ever was. So I'm very lucky. So hopefully I won't be going back to any of them anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this conversation with a lot of artists, and there is always that fear that what you enjoy and what you enjoyed about painting, when it becomes a job, you don't enjoy it anymore. And there's always that fear there with people. But I think being an artist probably would outweigh that. I don't know. I'm not a commercial artist. I'm not an artist who does rely on my work to pay my bills. So I've never had that pressure. But I know a lot of artists who are in that position, and they do enjoy it, even though it can be stressful and does feel like a job at times. They do. They wouldn't go back to their life before, if you know.
And the thing is, as well, I think the real test of it is if that was taken away from you tomorrow and you couldn't be an artist anymore and you were doing a 9 to 5, would you still paint? And the answer is yes, I would. I wouldn't make get as much of it done as I could, but yeah, I'd still do it. I mean, I've got a friend, and the guy that owns the other studio I'm in at the moment, and he's what I call an artist. He done many, many jobs, and he'd get up 2 hours earlier than he had to in the morning so that he could go and do some painting, and he'd go and do a whole day's work, come home, drop all his gear off, and then straight into his studio for another 2 or 3 hours. He just has to paint, and has done that since I can. I mean, we used to go to the art club together when we were kids, so he's been doing that since he was 13, something like that, and he still does it to this day. He must have, blimey, 400-500 finished canvases in his place, and he's one of those artists that will paint and paint and paint. And I'll see something and I'll say to him, I could sell that. Oh, don't, whatever. He's one of those artists. He doesn't care if he sells. You know, if he does sell something, it's a bonus, but he never promotes it. He never puts it up. He never goes out. He just wants to do art, which is, you know, phenomenal.
And I think that is the thing about creativity, isn't it? It's something inside you that just has to be, you know, fed, for want of a better word.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I think if you're very creative, not even you have to be very creative. You don't have to be technically any good at something. If you enjoy doing it, sometimes you just have to get it out of your head. You know,
yeah.
With due respect to other artists, I've seen some pretty poor art, but they're doing it because they love to do it, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day. You shouldn't be painting for an audience, or drawing, or singing, or whatever. It should be for you. The audience comes second. The art's for you, and if the audience like it, luckily enough, people like the work I do. But the work I do is the work I would do regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think that's the key point to take away. That if someone wants to do something, let's go and do it. You know, there's plenty of bad things out there, me being one of them.
Well, they do say your audience will eventually find you, don't they? So
you know, it's always, I mean, everyone, and it's such a cliche thing to say to people, because you get it all the time. People say to me, you know, how can I be successful doing what I'm doing? And it almost feels like you're being a bit dismissive when you say, just keep at it, just keep on doing it. And at some point, someone will go, oh, wow, look at that. I saw that on Instagram. And then someone else will see it, and then it will just grow and grow. And you'll sell your first piece, and you'll sell your second piece. And then suddenly you'll find that you've tapped into a vein, and you'll find a whole raft of collectors that like the kind of thing you do. And you just have to keep on bashing away at it. It can be very, very disheartening. If you're someone that's, say, for example, taking the leap and decided I'm going to do art full time, to not be able to sell immediately is very, very difficult to keep that momentum going, just to keep on doing it. So I say to most artists, if you've got another job and you can fit it in, that's probably the best way to start. Because if you don't, then you put yourself under so much pressure at the beginning that, you know, it's one of those, it's like dieting. You know, you can go all in and great, you'll lose 3 stone, but then once you've done that, you'll suddenly slip back to the things you used to do, and then on comes the weight again. And it's the same with people that want to become commercial artists. It's what they want to do for a living. It's very, very lean times, and you just have to try and stick it out and just keep on plugging away. And I mean, I am very, very lucky to be, I don't know, even saying it, that at the level I'm at the moment, I'm incredibly lucky to be where I am. But that's taken a good 15 years of non-stop work. I mean, I'm talking about, I was talking to another artist a couple of weeks ago, and he said exactly the same thing. He's doing really well. But remember the days when we were taking, 5-foot canvases on the underground and bumping into people and, losing work, walking down. I remember going once to a gallery just around the back of Oxford Street and having this big canvas. And every time I carry a canvas, it's windy, and the wind canvas ending up in the road and all that kind of nonsense. So
it's easy to forget that, isn't it? It is easy to forget that. I'm going to have to stop you there because we're almost at the end of our recording. So it's been lovely speaking to you, Mason. Lovely catching up with you. It's been great chatting.